Our quick video. Click the links for Odyssey, Bit Chute, or to Sport Channel Coffee. The various other links. Be sure to join the Telegram if you're brave. Gab, Odyssey, Telegram are freer speech platforms. So this is a video you've probably seen by now of our suspect. But one of the problems is, as you go through this article about that issue, you won't see a picture of the suspect. It's sort of like the Waukesha incident, where it's just a SUV drives through a crowd of people. Apparently, it drove itself. They're already trying to control the narrative, is what I'm trying to say. So there's sort of a division between websites, CWE Chicago, that do show you what you're dealing with, and news reporting sites that don't. And this is obviously not a mainstream site, and the other sites are mainstream sites. The mainstream will conceal information, and the alt media won't conceal that information. The media is not the media. The media hasn't been the media for 50 years. Now, is it hyperbolic to say they're the open enemy of the people? They craft a narrative. The media, the people who are pulling the strings of the media, have interests adverse to yours. So what is going on, if you've been paying attention lately? This website just goes through crime in just Chicago, and there's new stuff every day. It's insane catch and release type of crime. So what you're seeing a lot lately is essentially POC gun violence, and they're very careful. The mainstream media is very careful to focus on the second and leave off. In fact, they would never say POC at all, or anything more detailed than that. Those are the key words. What the normie is seeing is you're making the connection between the people who are involved in these events, and the media keeps repeating the word gun to try to get that focused in your mind. But you're not stupid. If you watch the news, you know who's doing it and who isn't doing it. It's not whites, Asians, it's not Mexicans or any other group of people. It's just one group of people. But the left wants you to focus on the gun for a reason. And really, they want you scared enough and under this constant low-grade stress that when they offer you a solution, even if it takes away your liberties, you'll just jump on it. Be like, oh yes, thank God, do something about this gun violence. Take the guns away. Now here's the thing. Even I'm obviously very pro Second Amendment. Even if you try to do that in America, it's not like America's not like England or Australia, where they have done that to lesser degrees of success. And really, in those countries, they just use knives anyway. America is different. It's there's probably 500,000 guns in America, so that's not going to happen anyway. And I think there's probably enough people in America who just would probably say, like, listen, this is removing the Second Amendment's a Civil War level event, and it is, because the Second Amendment's the only thing that protects the tyranny that you've seen in like Australia and other parts of the world. That's the only thing that protects us. And really, the thing is, it's also a great equalizer. It's like, if you're elderly, you're not going to be able to fight somebody off. It's the one thing that almost anyone can use that can prevent a home invasion or a bunch of other horrific things. Anyway, so the left is focusing on the hardware and ignores who's doing this. Pox. So what's happening is you're using catch and release Soros district attorneys. And before I really went down the rabbit hole, I thought, like, I just vaguely heard the name Soros. I thought, oh, it's some kind of like Alex Jonesy tinfoil hat thing. And then you look into it and it goes, oh no, he actually does fund political campaigns to the tunes of, I don't think it's been like $600,000 to $800,000 that he just throws around to put people in office. And the people he's putting in office are purposely incompetent people. The Kim Fox mutual combat lady, that's just one example. He's done a bunch of other examples too. Who's that Rosenberg guy? He's either the Borden or something. He's a son of a Rosenberg, which is the Weather Underground terrorists, either the Oakland DA or the San Francisco DA, I forget. I'm sure he's tied into Soros as well as the Rosenbergs. Anyway, so they're using these catch and release district attorneys. And to be fair, as people have pointed out, it's like the liberal San Francisco Bay Area types in these, in blue cities, and cities are usually bluer the bigger they get, they're voting for these people. So they're like, if you're in Seattle or Portland, there's no way you can be on the right and you have an R after your name and you try to run. You're like, I'm going to get tough on crime and try to, I don't know, end welfare and get the fathers back in the home. It's like, they would kick you out of town. You're not going to get elected, or at least I don't. I mean, you'd have to be independently wealthy to pay for your personal security, because your life would be in danger if you had an R after your name and you're running in Portland, Seattle, Minneapolis, San Francisco, and a bunch of other places. So what happens is these people get out on a GPS and they cause more violence. This one website focuses on this exact case where people get caught and released. They're literally on a GPS monitor, and the judge is looking at this and like, so, we're tracking the GPS monitor. It has a map on it. It's like those fitness maps you have. It shows that you met up with this guy who you later robbed. It's like, did you think the ankle monitor was not working? And the thing is, they don't care because they know they're going to get released anyway and cause more horrific acts of violence. So what's going on is they're using POCs as a tool to destroy the Second Amendment and increase the militarized police. The puppet masters left wing actually want a federal, centralized, brutal military police force. And people think, oh, the left is so anti-police. No, not the puppet master left. The useful idiots, yes, but not the ones who are funding this and pulling the strings, the Soros, Rothschild, Schwab types. They want a centralized authority because they know that they can control any central power by simply being the hidden hand that they've always been. They're not usually the power up front. They pull the strings at the cabinet level. They're not usually the power up front, though, as you've seen in Ukraine. That has changed. So you look at this insane levels of crime that America is going through now, and it's only on the increase. And the I don't know, the funny part of it is that you're going to see it now, because when crime was last time, it peaked in like 1990-ish. That was just before cell phones, and like people had cameras and stuff, but it wasn't the same. I mean, now there's cameras everywhere, so you're going to see all this stuff on the alt social media, not on the mainstream media. So you look at these insane levels of crime and catch and release, and it's like you scratch your head because none of this makes sense. Why are you catching and releasing people who have been arrested for violent felonies, or any felony really, like 4 or 5 times, and they're still out on general reconnaissance or something, their own reconnaissance, or a GPS monitor, or they have to pay like a few percentage for a bond? None of this makes sense until you kind of reach the tipping point. It goes like, oh, this is by design. This is what they're intending. They're intending as much chaos as possible, and they're using this one segment of the population as their Waldos on a string. At the same time, you have, or at least I'll say you had, BLM who were pushing a narrative. BLM kind of imploded because it turned out they were stealing, there was, I think, over $1 billion pushed into BLM, and people are looking around for that money, and it's like the John Travolta scene in Pulp Fiction where he's looking around. It's like, so where'd the $1.5 billion go? Like, well, some of it, like less than $100 million, went into people's personal accounts, and then the rest of it, the $1 billion, probably went back into the accounts of the people who donated it, because it is probably a situation of Bank of America essentially donating to itself to hide money or launder money. The thing is, BLM was pushing this narrative of police shootings, and it's mostly bullshit. The hard truth is these people engage in high-risk behavior, and the police end up making more contact with them. And the thing is, at one time, if you tried to sell this BLM narrative like 20 years ago, before body cams and before everyone had outdoor security cams and Ring doorbells, you might be more believable in like selling the police brutality narrative, because hey, we saw Rodney King, to be fair, but then you see videos like that guy yesterday who he had the wrong license plate on his car, which means either the car or the plate was stolen or something. He was up to some shenanigans, and he starts to run from the cops, and he's wrestling the cop. He grabs the taser, and then he's fighting the cop, and the cop blows his brains out, shoots him in the back of the head, killing him. And so you see behavior like that doesn't make sense, because no other group of person will do that. That kind of, like, very few people will fight with somebody who's armed. It doesn't make sense. He's wrestling with the cop. He tries to use a taser. It's like, yeah, but he's got a .40 caliber on his hip. Most people just go, oh, I'll just fight it in court. There's a wrong license plate on the car. Either I put it on myself, which I know I'm breaking the law, or someone else did it, or something. It's like, you're caught. Most people don't have that. And it was weird watching him, because he ran away slowly. It was a weird situation. It's like he just would not stop fighting, and his buddy is watching him, and his buddy is not exactly encouraging him, but he's telling the cop, like, oh, just talk to him, he's fine. But the whole time the guy's like, listen, you're under arrest. They have the lawful power to arrest you if they suspect you of criminal activity, and they may detain you for a brief period. And now with the situation that's going on in America now, take the arrest, you'll be out in like 3 hours. It's insane to take a 180 grain slug, get your brains blown out when you would have been released. Even if the car was stolen, you still would have been released that day and nothing would have happened to you. I mean, you would not serve, say the car was stolen and say it had drugs and other stuff inside it. Unless there's a body in the car, just take the arrest. You'll be out the same fucking day. He got his brains blown out because he had that oppositional defiance disorder where he couldn't help himself from fighting with the cops. So a lot of this stuff is by design. Anyway, I don't know if this is too base for YouTube. We'll find out. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next episode.